we're back, and this is segment 3 of our second official episode of CXD Now. I'm Chris Huer, and we've been joined today by Tom Ilmancy, the Director of UX for Prezi. And we're also joined now by Angela Long, who's the CX practitioner out of Washington, D.C., who I happened to meet last week, and is now volunteering with We Are the Solution. And again, today, for those of you who don't know, we're being sponsored by IBM Commerce and the IBM Journey Designer product. And today in this segment, what we want to do is we want to get really practical and actually do some working out loud together. And in this case, for those of you who know me and know the background, we've started something recently called We Are the Solution. It's an idea to bring people together for more cooperative problem solving instead of confrontational approaches to create solutions to our biggest problems. And there's a lot of things around this as a social movement, cause, local meetups, and really just online coordination and education and advocacy. And what we have in front of us is a number of different personas that we've been looking at. We're going to focus on one today. And we've gone ahead and created an empathy map for Nicole. And Nicole is the sort of person who really wants to make a difference and wants to get involved in something. And we've essentially now kind of mapped out that empathy map. And actually, Brandy, could you go ahead and share the link for those of the people in the chat room so they can take a look at what we're looking at here? And you guys in the chat room can see it. And in the video, I'll pop this up on the screen so you'll know what we're talking about. And if you see us looking away, that's what we're doing. We're looking at the empathy map that we've created. And thanks to Doug Fold's suggestion in last show, we're using a product called Murally for this, which had an empathy map template. And that's what you see us building in. So the purpose of this is to serve as sort of a touch point for each of us to come together and get at it. So let me just say this, and then I'm going to shut up. I'm going to ask Angela to say a couple of words about what we've done with this. And then Tom, I'm going to seek your input. Essentially, Murally allowed for online collaborative whiteboarding. So this is a process we would normally do in a room with a product team or with a group of people, again, a cross-functional sort of team. And starting to put all these sticky notes that describes things like, what does this person think and feel? What do they hear? What do they say and do? What do they see? And the goal here is to create a richer understanding of the people we're trying to reach and we're trying to help. So that's all I'm going to say on that right now. And hopefully you'll learn some more about empathy maps later. But Angela, can you talk a little bit about, what we've done here and how you approached it? And just give me a little sense on, how you start off with these empathy maps in your own practice.
I'm happy to do that, but I'm attracted to We Are the Solution, and which is really what the map Nicole is based on. And it seems a little bit like it's the, the balance team a little, it reminds me of that, but this is a different type of mission, but definitely a complementary approach. And what we've been looking at, and I think, Tom, you have a copy of Nicole's map, but we're looking at the different spheres. But we're looking at how Nicole, different areas of what would she think and feel. And this is in the area of We Are the Solution, of how we would attract someone like Nicole to our mission. How would we get her on board? What is she thinking and feeling? What are they hearing? What are her friends saying? Her boss saying? What are actually influencers saying that she's actually hearing that would inspire her to join We Are the Solution? What is she saying and doing? What is her attitude in public? How is she appearing? How is she carrying herself? What is her behavior actually when she's looking to others? And this actually, there's some other areas to this. There's pain and then there's gain. So there's probably some underlying fears, concerns, frustrations, obstacles to Nicole joining I'm calling it a mission. It seems sort of, if that's the best approach to calling it, as well as there's a pain, but there's also an upside. What's the gain for her? How is she feeling? How is this meeting her wants, her needs? What does this look like in terms of success or any obstacles that she's looking to overcome? And finally, what is Nicole seeing in terms of her environment, her friends? What is her context, if you like? What does she see that market offers her? What we're trying to do is get a 360 understanding of Nicole and what We Are the Solution could mean to her.
Yeah, and in this way, of course, what we're doing is we're getting an understanding of what sort of messages will resonate with her, and how to approach her, and what are the things that are motivating her, and how can we help her be successful. And I think one of the most important things for me when I come to this work is coming back to some of Tom's original comments, is that, standing in their shoes and seeing the world from their perspective. And the deeper the empathy and understanding and our ability to stand in their shoes, the more we're able to serve them and help them be successful. And I think that the big change today in the approach to customer experience design is that there's this greater understanding that if we can be successful in doing that and helping our customers and our stakeholders, in this case, when we're dealing with the mission, be successful, that's how ultimately we're going to be successful in building a relationship with them and co-creating value, right? So Tom, when you get to this stage of the process, how do you approach this? And, maybe even some more practical terms, whether it's in a whiteboard or a shared space, how do you go about addressing these questions?
Oh boy, what a question. Awesome. Yeah, so, okay, well, first of all, it's 9:45, so my answer may be a little crazy. 9:45 p.m. in Budapest. So love the use of these empathy maps, and we use them a lot at Prezi as well. Sometimes we find them really super helpful after doing a field study or conducting some interviews, or to sort of collect what we hear from a very specific mission. Fresh from your research session, you can sort of visualize the essence of what was significant out of that meeting. And it can be fun for a team to build these together. That's another really cool thing to do, is to kind of like, you can use an empathy map even to surface assumptions, like your wrong guesses about who the person is in the middle. And it's kind of fun because it gets it all out of everybody's heads and out onto a surface where you can see it and be like, maybe we should dig into that one, that, you can't make a difference bit, because, that's curious. The next, time we do some research, let's really zero in on that piece. So that's super fun. I love the pain and gain bit on too, the really knowing what's frustrating and sort of the severity of that pain is incredibly important when you're designing a product or a service. Because if it's not a big pain, or it's not, or that's a pain that happens like once every 2 years, it's kind of like, who is this person? Nicole can kind of like deal with it and move on. The other thing that's kind of interesting to do is to interconnect these empathy maps. Like Nicole's got a friend or a buddy or somebody that she has to navigate the space with. That's one of the big challenges of Prezi, because in designing presentation and storytelling software, you're not like telling yourself a story. You got an audience, or you've got, somebody, you're trying to change someone's mind or enlighten them or open them up to something. And oftentimes you're building a presentation together. Then things get really interesting, right? You need a bunch of empathy maps to figure this stuff out. One little thing that we just invented for a project here is something we call the emotional roller coaster. Where we kind of look at like, for a specific character in a certain presentation context, where are they, like at the very beginning, at the middle, and the end of the process? How creative do they feel? How anxious are they feeling as they get closer to showtime? So anything visual like this that you can do to help your team really participate and walk away from the session like going like, oh yeah, I get that. I see who this is. And then of course you can develop this into personas and other kinds of things that drive a better conversation.
So the one thing that I've noticed here as I got into this, and I've been doing the design thinking stuff as well a couple of years now, and thinking about personas over market segments for a lot longer. But when I look at the concept of the empathy map, and some people have some different variants on the quadrants and the questions we're asking, but there's a lot of overlap sometimes between like, think and feel and pain, right? So is there any way you actually look at how do we say this is really a pain versus this is something they think or feel? So one of the things here that I actually kept going back and forth with is I'm scared that no one will listen to me. Is one of the things that I think that Nicole might be thinking. Now, actually not our prototypical Nicole. The Nicole that I know actually that this is modeled on broke the mold. So let's just be clear about that. But the type of person that we're trying to engage probably has that feeling that like, wow, I want to make a difference, but, I don't know if anyone's really going to even listen to me. And so that's a thought, but that's also a really deep pain. Do you put it in both?
Angela, you want to take that one?
Maybe you tackle it first.
Okay, I'll try it. I think you're using an empathy map well if you're having a conversation with your team about the fact that you don't know where to put it. It's a chance to get everybody talking about that fuzzy thing that doesn't quite fit where you think it does. And if you can get other people around that map and finally agree on where that weird bit should go, then score. You've done it. I mean, and if you're a team of one, well, go find a buddy. I mean, get out of the office, go call up a classmate. I don't know, but try to just bring a partner in to look at it from a fresh perspective, and they may give you bad advice, but it might spark your thinking and kind of like drive to some like, oh, wait, I'm just wording that one wrong. It's actually two things, and then you can break the card in two. I mean, there's no rules, right? I mean, well, there's some, but you can change them as you need to.
Yeah, I think it's really important what you were saying earlier as well about the fact that this is assumptions and that it's our chance to kind of test these assumptions in many ways. I like the idea of actually doing, your one-on-one or, multiple user interviews, if you will, up front, and then reflecting that back into the empathy map. But oftentimes where we're coming from this perspective, we're going, well, we kind of know these people if you're a part of their community. And in fact, in this case, I am. And as I mentioned, the Nicole, whose photo I've used here is actually Nicole Patrice, who's a dear friend of ours and a longtime supporter. So I'm trying to somewhat model it on somebody I really know, although she's much more like fierce and forward thinking. So I'm imagining the one that didn't know about the world and how to get things done. Have you ever taken, Tom, an empathy map back to one of these, potential personas as a real life person and say, which one of these resonates with you? Or is there any of this stuff that, isn't there?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I've heard stories of people doing like the extreme thing, like saying, don't try this at home, but this is what I heard someone did. Like sending a survey and like, here's a persona. How much do you identify with this one?
Oh, yeah.
Like on a scale of 1 to 5, and then that's like a way of validating the personas. We didn't do that. I'm just saying I heard some dude did that, and I thought that was interesting.
You would never do that.
No, and I'm not even kidding. Like I didn't do that. All right, I have a controversial answer on this one. And maybe it's because I've had some of my stretch whiskey. But here's my controversial answer. It's not the participant's job to tell you. I mean, it's your job as a researcher to do the synthesis. Your job is to be open to what they want to tell you and to frame a conversation that helps you say, yeah, I think we're on the right track with this one, or whoops, we missed something big here. And on the other hand, it depends on who you're talking to. They might enjoy an exercise like that. Like if you built one from scratch with somebody, but then, you got to think about how weird that must feel for them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, How are we going to dissect you? Doesn't that sound
Yeah,
great?
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I know. Don't do that. It's bad advice night.
Well, I'm just trying to stretch the edges here and figure out how, one of my, what do you call it? The double-edged sword of my gift and my challenge is that I always try to improve things and think of it differently. Deming, I'm a huge fan of Deming. In fact, it turns out he lived behind my fraternity house, basically in DC, for a number of years, and I didn't even get to meet him because I didn't find out until after he passed. So I was really kind of bummed that I missed that. But anyways, side point. But I really want to keep pushing the boundaries here and explore, tactics and insights and different insights for approaches. And we're way out of time already. And in fact, I'm realizing I probably need to do a whole hour around this separately each week to kind of get into it, to do the work. But it's really late there, and I don't want to keep you any longer. So
it's okay.
Let me wrap up at least this segment now. We're going to come back into this, and I just wanted to say one other thing about the map that people can see on screen, and I just wanted to speak to it. One of the great things about Murally that I think makes it a little bit better in at least one way than in-room doing this wall brainstorming and post-it note process together is the ability to find those images and drop images on to represent that. When I've done that in the past, we've had all these magazines laying around, and you can look through magazines to try to find that like Pinterest wish board sort of thing forever. But the ability in Murally to just do a search for like frustration and find an image that represents frustration and drop that in, it really helps to ground you in that empathy process. A picture truly is worth 1,000 words, and I think that component of it is really helpful when you're trying to get an understanding of who somebody is, how they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're seeing, and what they're doing. So I do think that is kind of a best practice now.
Hey, Chris, you just inspired me.
Please.
I'd like to give sort of an awkward shout out to a guy I've never met. John Kulko. Do you know that name, John Kulko? He's written a lot on interaction design, and he's got a really interesting new book out called Well Designed. Well Designed, I think that's it. And it's sort of empathy-driven design something. It's over on my desk. It's too far for me to run and get. But it's packed with really, really helpful ways to help teams visualize the research, build kind of like sensible artifacts that capture the empathy bits, and then, but not get all hung up on it, to use it to drive to actually building something that you can ship and learn from. And like, anyway, it's open on my desk right now because I'm using it for what you described, is to find new ways to kind of visualize what we're learning and make it tangible to everybody on the team. And you're right, the visually thing that you've got here is a great way to do that. And all I'm saying is Kulko has some really cool ways that can complement this technique. So it's worth
cool. And how does he spell his name? Because I just did a search and I got some news reporter and not him. So
Kolko.
Kolko.
John Kulko.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab that link, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up this segment, and I'll share that link with you here in a minute. In fact, it's just johnkulko.com. So that's really cool and very easy to find. So this has been Chris Hewer, and this is our segment 3 of our interview today with Tom Ilmancy, the Director of UX at Prezi. Again, this is CXD Now, because the time for customer experience design is now. Okay, it really is a zeitgeist moment, so you got to pay attention. We've also been joined today by Angela Long from DC, who's helping us with We Are the Solution and working on the journey maps and how we're going to engage the different stakeholders to get involved in our movement. And of course, we've been brought to you today by IBM Commerce and the IBM Journey Designer product. Thank you all so very much for joining us.